I've decided to sign for one more year on the show, and that this will be my last year hosting the Late Late Show.
A big mea culpa from James Corden on his late night show as he addressed the controversy that erupted over his treatment of the waitstaff at a New York City eatery. As Amber Cogliano reports, his complaint about the food has left him eating a big helping of humble pie.
Have you ever watched someone go from beloved superstar to public enemy #1 almost overnight? Well, buckle up then, because today we're diving into the chaotic, scandal-filled fall of James Corden, a man who once seemed untouchable. For years, he was the smiling, goofy Brit who made Hollywood feel a little lighter. From Carpool Karaoke with Adele and Paul McCartney to his big grins on the Late Late Show, Corden built his empire on charm. He was the everyman who somehow broke through and became a global household name. But here's the twist. Behind the friendly smile, critics say there was a much darker truth: arrogance, rudeness, and controversies that eventually crashed his reputation. And trust me, once we start pulling at the threads of this story, the whole fabric unravels. James Corden wasn't born into stardom. He grew up in a small English town, chasing theater dreams and fighting for a bit roles. Then came his golden ticket, the hit sitcom Gavin and Stacey. It wasn't successful. It was a cultural phenomenon in the UK. People adored him as the lovable, funny Smithy, and awards came pouring in. By the late 2000s, Corden was everywhere. Fame tasted sweet, but success has a dangerous side effect: ego. And James Corden had plenty of it. Even he admitted later that fame made him arrogant, believing he was better than anyone around him. Colleagues noticed it too. Friends whispered that he had changed. The humble funny guy was gone, replaced by a man who expected the world to revolve around him. Still, Hollywood came calling. In 2015, CBS handed him the keys to the Late Late Show, a gamble considering Americans barely knew him, but he nailed it. His interviews were quirky, his sketches viral, and Carpool Karaoke exploded into one of the most watched formats on YouTube. For a while, Corden was unstoppable, a British star who conquered America. But here's where the cracks started showing. Corden's carefully polished image collapsed under the weight of his own behavior. First came accusations of him being a nightmare off camera, rude to colleagues, dismissive to staff, and impossible to work with. Fans began asking, was this cheery persona just an act? Then came the infamous restaurant scandal at a high-end New York eatery. Corden reportedly lost his temper with waitstaff, screaming over a simple mistake with his wife's meal. The restaurant owner blasted him publicly, calling him the most abusive customer in 25 years. Ouch. Imagine that being your legacy. Corden did what celebrities always do. He apologized, sort of, but the half-hearted tone only made things worse. People didn't hear remorse. They heard damage control. And that wasn't the only controversy. His late-night segment, Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts, where celebrities had to eat gross foods, sparked outrage. Why? Because many of those dishes weren't gross at all. They were delicacies from Asian cultures. Things like chicken feet or century eggs were turned into a comedy props, with Corden calling them disgusting. During a time of rising anti-Asian hate, those jokes hit like a punch to the gut. Petitions flew, hashtags trended, and Corden was branded culturally insensitive. The guy who once seemed universally liked was now the butt of the joke. But let's pause here, because this isn't about James Corden. This is about how quickly fame can flip. One day you're the internet's darling, the next you're a headline for all the wrong reasons. Audiences demand authenticity, and when the mask slips, they don't forgive easily. By 2022, ratings for the Late Late Show were tanking. Rumors swirled that CBS was losing tens of millions each year and wanted Corden gone. His official story was that he wanted to spend more time with his family back in England, but many fans didn't buy it. Online, the reactions were brutal. Good riddance, don't come back, worst host ever. After leaving late night TV, Corden tried to reinvent himself, theater roles, podcast hosting, and even returning to Gavin and Stacey for one last farewell episode. Critics said he performed well, maybe even better than before, but the question still hangs in the air. Has he truly changed, or is this another performance? James Corden's story is a warning shot to every celebrity. You can build fame on charm, but arrogance will always find its way to the surface, and once the public feels lied to, the redemption is almost impossible. So, what do you think? Has James Corden earned a second chance, or is this the final act of his career? Watch this video next, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Cheers!